He's been there longer than most people. He's owned the house. He bought it for $100 and some thousand way back when. So it's cheaper for him to say, all right, well, I own this. Let's go look at the zoning laws. Let's see what we're allowed to build and let's push it through.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt. That is Shawn, and welcome to our show. Shawn, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about maybe the most controversial home renovation project ever in the Northern Virginia area. Wednesday, November 19th. Shawn, how is your Wednesday, November 19th treating you?
Well, the weather is just dragging me down.
Yeah.
You know, it's like groggy outside. You don't even want to go outside, rainy, overcast. So it's slow. I would say we are in the post-government shutdown, now into holiday season of real estate. And I got to tell you, I feel like it's really very slow, So that's kind of the way, like if you're out there and you're trying to sell your house and it depends on what you're selling, because I'm hearing some people still getting multiple contracts in certain situations, but in other situations, showings are way down for our listings, for sure.
I showed a house last night. Ironically, the house is in the same neighborhood that we're going to be talking about
today. Get out
today.
of here.
Yeah.
Did you drive by?
I did. But let's get in. But anyways, I showed a house last night and they said, hey, deadline is set for next week. Pretty sure they underpriced it by $50,000 to $75,000. So, bold strategy, but it was like 1979 original. Like It wasn't like disgusting, but it was just shag carpet and 1980s cabinets and hadn't been touched. It was basically like a fossil.
You got to do a lot of work in there, and there's a lot of people that don't want to do that. But that's the strategy, and maybe this market is underpricing to see if you can get the people. Single family homes are churning a little better, and you have to underprice it for the work that has to be done to get it up to today's standards.
And it was a revolving door of showings last night.
Wow.
Shawn, I am giddy to get into today's topic. Okay. So, I first came across this on Reddit like a month ago, and I was like, wow, that is ugly. I'm just going to move on with my life. But this renovation has taken the world, the internet by storm. Fox 5 did a piece on it. The Daily Mail did a piece on it. This has gone international. So let's set the stage. We are in Chantilly, Virginia, the Greenbrier neighborhood. Just like a quaint, nice, suburban neighborhood with 1- and 2-story houses. And there's a gentleman who wants to do a home renovation, an addition, not new construction, an addition. He has his aging parents, wants to take care of them. And so we filed, the permits, started on the addition, and the neighbors, were saying, hey, when one floor went in, we thought, hey, we have a privacy fence, we have bushes, this is fine. When 2 floors went in, they said, okay, well, 2-story addition, that's okay. But Shawn, it's a 3-story addition, okay? The thing looks like, people are calling it like the Holiday Inn Chantilly. They're calling it like the Comfort Motel of, Greenbrier. The thing is like an aircraft carrier in the neighborhood. I drove by it last night. It's nighttime. It's dark. It's rainy. And, you're coming up over the hill, and the thing is just dwarfing you. Like, it is just a monstrosity. And the perspective is a lot larger because of the single, like the 1-level house next to it. So I'm curious, Shawn, and now it's 3 levels. Right now, there is a stop work order on the renovation. So apparently they submitted the permits. They got approved. The homeowner did everything right. A lot of this is allegedly. The homeowner did everything right. And then now, once the 3rd story went in, the complaints started coming from the neighbors. That maybe something's not up to code, maybe they didn't follow some sort of setback, and now an inspector went out and said, hey, we need to, review this, we're going to stop construction. So, Shawn, that's bringing us up to speed. What are your initial thoughts on the 3-story home renovation?
All right, I'll just be bluntly honest with my thoughts of how it looks. I hate it. It's ugly. It's nasty. I mean, like, if I could do a renovation, this would be the complete last one to do, because it's aesthetically, it's not pleasing to the eye. And so that's kind of the first thought that anybody's going to say once they see this thing is like, man, that thing is ugly. I would hate to live next to it. I would hate to be in that neighborhood to see that thing all the time. It's just the reality of it. It doesn't fit the neighborhood. And the construction in there is these, probably 1950s, 1960s homes that are smaller, brick construction, 2-story at the max. And this thing is huge. Now it's a modern look, but it's just right now in the phase of plywood, right? And so it's 3 stories of plywood. Yeah. So, my initial reaction is it's super ugly. And the other thought I thought of is like, this guy's putting a lot of money into this property. This is a big renovation. I mean, how many total square feet is like 3,000 square feet? Think about.
Yeah. I think I saw somewhere where the estimated cost is like $200,000 to do this renovation.
That's got to be way more than that.
Way more than 200?
I would say.
Okay, so, but it brings up like the thought of a lot of people are doing the home additions rather than like buying a bigger house. Because, why don't you just buy the house next door? Or why don't you just go down the street? Well, it's $750,000 versus $200,000 or however much this big box costs.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you're going to buy a bigger house like that in this neighborhood, it's going to cost you so much more. If you already own the land, and listen, this guy, it's not like he's just bought this house. He has owned the house for 20-some years, right?
Do we want to touch on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, obviously this can go in a lot of different directions. Some people are saying, hey, immigrants, migrants, multi-generational. We just gotta stop with that, guys. We just gotta stop. I mean, this air quotes immigrant, I think bought the house in 1995. He's probably lived in the neighborhood for longer than most Americans.
Yeah. He's an American. Let's put that straight.
Right. Yeah. So we really gotta stop with the whole, hey, this outsider's moving in and, destroying, the property values. What's happening is this person's trying to take care of his family. He's just living his life, trying to do the best for his family. Aren't we all trying to do that? And he's allegedly playing by the rules. And so I'm naive in a sense that I think he's doing the right thing. Maybe it's a toxic trait that I have and, someone's going to take advantage of me at some point in my life. But I genuinely think that he's trying to play by the rules. And so we just got to cut that narrative down.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is he's been there longer than most people. He's owned the house. He bought it for $100 and some thousand way back when. So it's cheaper for him to say, all right, well, I own this. Let's go look at the zoning laws. Let's see what we're allowed to build and let's push it through. And everybody has aging parents. We understand what has to happen at that certain point where, my parents included, they're in their 80s. Like, how am I going to care for them when, they can no longer care for themselves? So like bring them into a house that you feel is going to support your family. And there's a video out there where they actually interview this guy and he's such a super nice guy. Mm-hmm. He's just like, listen, I went through the proper ways of doing this and they approved me and now we built it and now we're stopped. So he was very surprised. And if you read the comments on that, there's a lot of hate on there, and it's understandable because it is like a monstrosity compared to everything else. And you're like, what, how, why, how?
Right.
All the questions, right? And let's go with the why. Why he's doing it is for his family, he says, right? Could he have done something more aesthetically pleasing? Yes,
but aesthetically pleasing for who? For
who? Right?
Like he probably thinks this is aesthetically pleasing,
but for the neighborhood, right? And so, like that's the thing.
That's not what he cares about. He cares about his family.
Exactly. That's the argument back and forth. So some people will argue that, hey, let's keep this neighborhood looking the way it's looked for a long time. Let's do aesthetically pleasing upgrades and renovations, maybe 2-story, 3-story peak or something like that. And not just a big straight up wall at 8 feet from the property line. It's a little bit abrupt, right? It's very abrupt. And so, but the issue here is that he went through all the proper channels. He submitted the plans to the county. So don't get mad at the guy because he's allowed to do it. It's his property. This is one thing that we fight for in the United States is property rights. When you purchase this land and you abide by what the county says that you have to abide by, then you're pretty much saying, hey, I did everything right,
Let me kind of push back a little bit.
Okay.
So the reason that the construction has stopped is because of a setback in the side yard. Mm-hmm. Now, this property is allegedly zoned R3C. Now, I've been going back and forth with people on the internet. I think it might be R3, but everyone is telling me I'm wrong. So for the sake of argument, let's say this is an R3C, basically a cluster. subdivision, even though I think it might be an R3. So let's say it's R3C, which means that the side setback has to be like 8 feet or 8.5 feet. It has to be like 8 something. What happened was there was a garage on this this land before, and that garage was 8 feet away from the side yard. And so they submitted the plans and said, okay, well, getting rid of the garage, we're building on top. It's gonna be 8 feet or whatever. Apparently, as it goes now, if it's R3C, it's 8 feet. If it's just R3, I think the setback has to be further. But for the sake of argument, R3C, 8 feet setback. Apparently, as the property goes back further, it narrowly slopes and gets closer to the neighbor's house to about like 7.4 feet. So apparently there's like half a foot or something where it's just a little bit too close, and that's the reason for the stoppage. But when you say he's done all the things correctly, do you know the firm that is doing this work?
I do not.
It is him. He is the contractor. Okay? So this is where things can get a little murky here. Okay, so hear me out on this. So now we have the homeowner who is also the contractor, who is also the person submitting the plans to the county, saying, oh, yes, I promise, we're 8 feet away. I promise for this 3-story, renovation, which is so rare for this community. So now are we thinking there's a possibility that, hey, this homeowner and contractor is saying, hey, oh, man, I would have loved to tore this thing down, but we already have 3 stories on it, and I'm just trying to help out with my family, and I'm just trying to do right by my parents, and woe is me, I'm now the victim. We got this far, and this would kill my finances. What are your thoughts on that angle?
I didn't know that. Because when I was watching this video, he said contractor, and he didn't say that he was the contractor. This changes the scenario, and like Matt, I have the fault of believing people, believing that they're actually telling me the truth, because I tell the truth as all the time, right? I can't lie. I have that problem where I just tell the truth. And so I believe that other people were going to tell me the truth. And when that comes up, that's a whole different story. Now, he said that basically he built it just how the plans were approved, and that now he was blaming it on maybe the county that they screwed up in the approval process. I have to disagree that if you put in plans and you were saying you're 8 feet, but you're actually 7.4 feet, you're in the wrong. You got to pull that thing down. I mean, that's just it, and the thing that we have is county regulations, and we'll go into that too. But once you said contractor, homeowner, and architect,
I don't know who the architect is, but the contractor / homeowner was the person that submitted the permit.
Yeah, you're always gonna be like, I could probably get away with it. Let's just put it here, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing is, are the inspectors coming out?
So yeah, the Fairfax County works on a complaint-based system. Okay. So you get your permit approved, you do your project, everything is hunky-dory until there's a complaint, until you submit a complaint, and there are not hundreds, there are tons of complaints on this project, and so they had to start closing down the complaints because of so many duplicate complaints. So you go on like the Plus Fairfax website, you submit your complaint, someone comes out and it drives by the property, measures the property, something like that, and that's how this whole system went down. Someone was saying, hey, this would have been fine if it was in a different neighborhood, but they just did this in the wrong neighborhood where people may have a little bit closer of an eye on what's kosher and maybe what's not allowed.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the neighborhood, but also we have to look at what the county allows. And you were saying R3C. In the tax record that I printed out here, because I'm an old school printer, it's R3C, which means cluster. I'm not
yeah, okay.
It's 8 feet, right? So we don't know. We're not counting people.
But that just pulls from the tax record. That's not the zoning ordinance, okay? Yeah, right. If you look at the zoning map, it's R3. Now, someone will say, oh, well, it doesn't distinguish between R3 and R3C on the zoning map. Fine. But, I mean, this was a subdivision that was built in the 1960s. Cluster wasn't even a zoning thing until the 1980s. Again, we're going to split hairs. Everyone's on the internet's going to tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. Let's assume it's R3C. Let's assume it's 8.5 feet. But it does go to show, because when this is put on the online and everyone's commenting on it, a lot of people are saying, let the man do what he wants with the property, okay? It's his land, it's his property, let him do it. And that's fine up to a certain point. So where do you draw the line between like property rights and zoning ordinances?
I mean, the county ordinance is where you draw the line, right? If you're allowed to do it, then you should be allowed to do it. And it doesn't matter what you feel is aesthetic or not. It's what is approved by the county. And that's where we're at fault here, because if the county actually approved this and we look at an R3C setback rule, it's 8 feet. And 8 feet, the way the county thing says that I read was you're allowed to go up to 35 feet straight up within 8 feet of that property line. So a typical build is going to be 10 feet per floor.
Does that sound right to you?
No, it sounds awful.
Okay.
Right?
Now, Greenbrier's not a small neighborhood. There are hundreds of houses, winding streets, beautiful. I bet it was rocking for Halloween, last month. Why haven't other people done this? Why haven't other people gone to 8 feet and shot up 35 feet?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because they don't want something. Now, listen, like typically, if I was looking at this and I'm thinking at a resale standpoint, it's going to be a hard property to sell in the future. But he doesn't care. He probably doesn't care about that.
Oh, you know who does care is the neighbors next door, who, by the way, have solar panels on their roof.
Oh my gosh!
I thought that was kind of
way.
Now,
Dude, it gets worse.
I think the sun would literally have to be setting for the solar panels to get hit. But what is this going to do for the property values for the neighbor's house?
The neighbor's house has just gone down, unfortunately, and that's the absolute truth. You have just destroyed your neighbor's property value and your own, because you're going to put a lot of money into this. And the problem is he's owned it for a long time. But I would say if you would put, let's say the build cost $500,000. If you would have done a $500,000 build that was aesthetically pleasing compared to this build right here, you would have gotten so much more out of that $500,000 build that was aesthetically pleasing. But now it's not. So your value of what you just put into the property has gone down instantly.
I may disagree with you on this, because haven't you had clients who are looking for multi-generational living, an in-law suite, more square footage for the mother-in-law?
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
Is this not a great opportunity?
No, it's not.
It's not.
It's not. It's not going to be, because everybody's going to look at it like, oh, you own the monstrosity on the street. You own that thing that sticks out. That is the ugliest house that I've seen. So we want multi-generational. Like our friend was saying the other day, first floor, master bedroom or whatever, that is in demand. But when you go to a monstrosity that just doesn't fit the neighborhood and has a negative connotation, then it's going to bring down the value, and it's going to bring down the pool of buyers that are going to look at this. And, we all know the ugly houses in the neighborhood. The ugly houses sell for less. The houses that need work sell for less. This thing is unfortunately, the ugly one in the neighborhood. And I wouldn't want to own it, and I wouldn't buy it. And I think most people wouldn't buy it. So that's going to dilute who's going to buy it in the future. Again, he doesn't care. He's building this for his family.
I don't think it's ever going to sell, right? Because, the guy doing the renovations, the homeowner, do you see a video of him? He's got to be, 45?
Yeah.
All right, so what's going to happen when he's in 40 years? Where do you think he's moving? Yeah. He's moving down the hall.
Down the hall, and his kids are going to take over.
And then his kids, who, by the way, again, when I drove by, what was outside? A cop car. Okay, there was a police officer.
Yeah, dude.
People have been harassing this guy. Again, we can't go after the homeowner. It's just irresponsible. We can't be saying things to the kids in the yard. That's just horrible behavior. So we're not going to publish the address. You can look it up if you want, but horrible things. But I don't think this house is going to sell for another 75 years.
You're probably right. It's just going to be held, handed down generationally, and so be it, right? They built it for their family. They're allowed to build it. They got the approval, maybe.
Allegedly, they got the approval. Yeah, everything. They've done everything correctly, allegedly.
Allegedly, until he started constructing it himself, and that's probably why it's costing $200,000, because he's his own labor, right? And guarantee you, it's not costing $200,000. That's a lot of material, dude.
Yeah,
that's a lot of material.
Yeah, and there's a lot of speculation in this episode. We don't want to, accuse. Yeah. We're trying not to accuse anyone of anything. Obviously, something has gone terribly wrong at some point in the process. Another question I had is, with outsiders looking in, or even insiders looking in, okay, people are complaining, and then other people are saying, leave the guy alone, let him live his life. No one wants to be a Karen, right? No one wants to. We live in an age where everyone's like, mind your own business, stay in your own lane. How does this affect you? Why didn't you go away? So, Shawn, where do you draw the line between not being a Karen and being overbearing and getting into someone else's business versus this is something where this is wrong, someone needs to stand up and say something, and you're breaking the rules?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's by the county. I mean, like, that's the problem is we're all neighbors. We all live next to somebody, right? And if you're allowed to do this, the problem is the county, the local government. I'll say it, that's where the problem is. If you're going to allow somebody, you go through the permitting process and the county allows it, you got to blame the county. Now, he might be 6 inches off and he's going to apply for a variance. And if they approve the variance, then you got to, again,
if
blame
they
the county.
approve the variance.
They're not going to.
Why don't you go buy a lottery ticket?
Yeah.
If they approve the variance.
If they did that now, there's going to be so many people mad at the county. Now, but here, this goes back into so many examples that we have seen in the past where counties do things that they want to do or change laws or change things. And we've seen it in Arlington with, the Missing Middle project, right? I personally live in Arlington. I didn't want Missing Middle big monstrosity, things like this next to me. And that was part of the problem. So the county is to blame here. If you are allowing an 8-foot setback with a 35-foot structure straight up, something needs to be changed, because there's nothing in that neighborhood that looks like that. There's nothing that I can say that I've seen other than townhouses somewhere, in different areas and different neighborhoods that are like that. So if this was like a townhouse community, okay, that's pretty normal. If it's a single family home that you're building basically a condo on the side of it, it's crazy.
Yeah, and to me, this isn't really Missing Middle. I think these two might get conflated because it's not like the footprint of the house.
Right.
Okay, this was a garage. They've added 2 stories to it. It's not within the confines of what Arlington or some of these other jurisdictions thought of Missing Middle. It's more of a very large home addition.
It was just the going back and forth on what we don't want or what some people want and what some people don't want. And, some people might want this and some people don't want it. And that's the argument. But if the county allows you to do something like that, and you've got to understand we're not builders. So like, I don't know exactly how this all works. And every county is going to be different. And every neighborhood then is going to be different from every other different neighborhood. So, but if this is allowed in there and they went by the rules, like, how do you fault the guy? He owns it. He's allowed to do what he wants per county regulations. But, let's change the regulation then, Mm-hmm. This is what happens when you have these regulations set and most people don't abide by it stay within it because they don't want an ugly house, quote, ugly house. They're not going to do that. But then when you get a builder in there that says, hey, I'm allowed to do this. I'm just going to maximize this. I'm going to crush it, and I'm going to have the hugest house on this lot that I can do. That's what happens. So if you want change, you got to change it at the government level. You can't get mad at this guy because he's doing it to the way that he proposed the plans. Mm-hmm. Now, his construction went a little off. And here's the thing is, there's a difference between if you're building a new construction, you're knocking the whole thing down and building. That's one set of rules. The second set of rules is if you own the property or if you bought a property and then you're renovating, it's going to be a different set of rules. And you can do different things based on that. And that's going to be, again, different for every county. But would I be mad if that was going up? Yes, 100% I'd be mad. I'd be talking to him like, dude, can we do something about this? But in the same thing, it's his right to do it. So how can you have to get mad at the county?
Well, the rumor has it that he did not talk to his neighbor before doing this. Now, common courtesy, which is now lost on today's world, is that if you're going to do a renovation, you talk to your neighbor. You talk to the people that it's going to affect. The people next to my parents' house, they're tearing down the house, and they wrote them a letter, said, "Hey, it's gonna suck for the next 12 months.
Yeah.
This is our dream for our family. We're gonna build a new house."
That's the neighborly thing to do.
It's common courtesy, and maybe you wouldn't have had these issues if you had hashed them out to begin with. Some people would say, "Oh, well," they would just say, "Don't do it then." Well, I think if the homeowner could prove that everything is legal, then they could get that out of the way initially, and then the neighbor wouldn't be complaining and talking to Fox 5 and all that stuff.
Yeah, if this would have been done the right way at the beginning, honestly, I think it would have probably been stopped or pushed back a little bit. But it wasn't, and that guy didn't do that. And there was an example of this, and I'm going to go back to the Missing Middle. And again, I'm not trying to connect these two, but it's just a problem that happened in my neighborhood where a builder bought a property and he was going to go the missing middle route. And he sent out a letter to the entire neighborhood saying, hey, this is how we read the documents and the county regulations, and we are going to do this on this neighborhood. Just be aware. And we fought it, and we said, no, that's not the way it goes. And he was not allowed to do that. And so if that would have been done the right way at the beginning, then maybe this would have had a different outcome. But now what he's done is he's gone over the property line or over the variance. And you know what? The hammer's going to come falling down. And honestly, this is the fault of being somebody that is the contractor that might be, and I don't know, maybe he's trying to push the lines a little bit. Maybe he's saying, I need this like extra 6 inches. I'm just going to do it and then build. And what are they going to say later? They're going to make me tear it down? No, I'm just going to be nice. And, hopefully we all work out. Well, you know what? The hammer's going to fall, I think, right?
So that is, first of all, is good by the builder in your neighborhood to reach out, because the alternative is not reaching out, doing it, and then, honestly, Shawn, how many lawyers are in this neighborhood?
Oh, so many, man.
The guy would get sued up the you-know-what.
Yeah.
So it's good for them to reach out. It does beg the question of what happens now for this property. There was a Fairfax Board of Supervisors meeting last night, Tuesday, November 18th. The video's not online yet, but I will be watching it. I think there's a public comment section too, so be curious to see what the thoughts are on that. I think the supervisor in charge of this district was saying how the zoning needs to be changed, something needs to happen. This is clearly top of mind, but it does beg the question of what will happen, Shawn. Do you think they're going to tear it down? Could they get a variance, or is the homeowner just going to plead, woe is me, and Fairfax County is going to succumb to the victim, the homeowner kind of playing the victim?
I think there's way too much pressure on this. This is a nationwide, worldwide story. If they cave and give a variance, there's going to be a lot of angry people, and they're going to feel it for a long time. That's just my opinion. I think he's going to have to tear something down. And
really?
I believe so.
Really? Okay.
Listen, you can't let people get away with stuff like this if, I just feel like there's too much pressure. In a normal certain circumstance, and if this was 2 levels high and 20 feet, 25 feet, maybe that would be okay. But now you have pushed the envelope to go to almost the max that R3C allows, and then you go over by 6 inches. 6 inches is 6 inches, man. And, when you're talking property values or property lines, if your fence is on somebody else's property, you're ripping that fence down. If the county says you're 6 inches over, you're 6 inches over. It's time to tear it down or cut that thing this way. You're going to have to do something that the county approves. And here's the thing is listen, we're going to give our opinion on things. We're trying not to insult anybody on this. The guy seems like a really nice guy. He's trying to do something for his family. Take that argument and say, all right, well, he didn't do what he was supposed to do. Maybe. There's a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of opinions. We just want to give it to you in a fair way, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
That's my personal thing. I don't like it. I would be mad.
So if it was 6 inches in, how would that change your thoughts or opinions?
If the county allows it, unfortunately, I have to abide by what the county allows, right? You own the property. You bought it in Fairfax County. Fairfax County says you can build. Go ahead and build it. It's to my detriment, and I'm going to be pissed at the county that they would allow something like this. And maybe it's time to see what the government allows, see what the local governments allow to be built on lots next to you, and maybe start fighting that. Start fighting the zoning laws. A lot of people want different things, and that's America. We're going to fight against, and no, I like it, no, I don't like it. But if we start paying attention, all of us, in so many different ways, because we're so consumed by other things, look at what the county is allowing, and then fight it if you don't like it. But right now, the guy was allowed to do it. Fortunately for his neighbors, he screwed up. and I think there's going to be some hell to pay, personally.
Yeah, if it was within the confines of the setback, go for it. Build whatever, hotel-esque apartment complex you want to build. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't necessarily think they're going to tear it down. But again, lots of speculation. We don't know for sure. Either way, would love to know your comments in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. For Shawn and myself, until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.